Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Inside Show. This is Shreyas, and today I have an awesome alumni who has worked in the investment banking sector and currently is working in Ambit and previously was working in JP Morgan in New York. He comes from the 2013 electrical engineering batch and has completed his MBA
Oh,
from IIM Kozhikode. Help me in
oh,
welcoming Rutvik Malekar. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
thank you so much, guys. First of all, no, sir,
Right.
I would prefer my name to be called out. We have an interesting practice while I was at the New York office. And again, I didn't come back from New York. I was there for a period of time. So let me clarify that first. Whenever you used to call someone, sir, they had to buy beer for everyone in their team.
Oh, wow.
So, and because you're earning Indian rupees, it's quite a bit expensive.
So, how do you? So,
So
did you lose any of the times? So, did you call
no,
anyone?
I don't because JP Morgan never has this practice of calling anyone sirs. Even
Right.
if Jamie Dimon is in front of me, we just call him Jamie.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
I don't know how many people are aware of Jamie Dimon, but yeah, he's the CEO of JP Morgan.
Yeah, CEO. I'd heard as one of his interviews. So it is
Hmm.
interesting to finally talk to an investment banker. And you guys are
Right.
like super busy. So how is work going on these days?
So just to give you a background, we just completed. We were a BRLM, which is a book running lead manager for India's second REIT offering, which is the Mindspace REIT, and we are heavily pitching to a couple of more real estate developers to undergo REIT transformation. So it's been pretty busy this week as well. I was just working and I had gotten this free slot I thought I'll just talk to everyone
Right.
and see
That's
what's
cool.
on their mind.
Okay, so let's begin with your story. So how did IIT
Hmm.
Roper happen? And how did it change you?
So people might call me a fool, but there were fools among all of us. There was a guy in my senior batch who had an AIEEE rank of 49. There was a guy in my batch who had a bid score of 340, 380 if I'm not wrong. I don't know what the scores are these days, but you had guys who could have literally gotten anything else in the country, but an IIT tag because of their JE rank. And I think that's what pulled us. Right now, IITs are prevalent, but being associated with an IIT, going to these inter IIT competitions, one of my greatest times in the 4 years was going to the Pan IIT meet and experiencing what an IIT alumni meant. And that's when you realize how powerful the brand is. I don't know how many IITs exist right now.
Around
It's a very
22.
old IIT way of saying it now, but we had 13 during my time. I don't know about brand illusion and stuff, but yeah, the IIT tag sticks with you, especially if you're from the older IITs. I don't know where you would put Roper, but yeah, it really helps. Like we really had a good time talking to a lot of people in the Pan IIT meet we had in Noida. So a lot of people were very positive about us. They would be like, yes, we need more people from more IITs because you can't just have 400 electrical engineers coming out of the country. So people were very happy to welcome us in that meet. So that's how for me again getting digressing, sorry for digressing, my story is my J rank was 4357, which is I think the lowest anyone can go to, because I was the only guy who was allotted I think I was one of the three people to be allotted a seat in the second round of counseling, which only happened during my year, and that could only happen if you didn't get anything in the first round of counseling. So uh, we were three people who got in through the second round of counseling. Uh, all of us in great places. So one is Anshul Garg. I think most of you might have heard of him. He's the youngest principal at BCG. One is Nikant Vora, who's working with Facebook, and the third is me. So I don't know. Pretty great choice. I had a pretty good bid score, enough to get into Bits Pilani, uh, CS as well. I had an AIEEE rank of 1800, but again, I just wanted to be a part of the IIT system. So that's what brought me here.
And so what were you interested during your IT Roper days? Like, were you interested in
Oh,
engineering or were you just exploring?
I was super interested in engineering. You can ask anyone, any of my batchmates, and these guys would typically tell you Rutvik is the guy. In fact, if you have Sanjay Roy in campus, just go and ask him about me. He would still remember me as a person who has done all sorts of shit in his class. So I was pretty interested in engineering. I tried to get into an MS degree, but that didn't pan out. I was stuck in a dead end job at ONGC, and I just needed to get out. So I was tired of applying for the MS, and MBA was a sure shot way out. I knew I wanted to do an MBA sometime in the future, but I just got an opportunity early and I took it.
So when did you
So
get
I was pretty
interested?
interested.
So when did you get
Third
interested in
year,
high finance?
third year. So third year, I had this documentary called as Inside Job, which is a recommended documentary about the GFC. I was just watching that documentary and I was amazed by the numbers that these guys were speaking. Like these guys would throw numbers like $100 million, $2 billion, $10 billion, like it was piece of candy. And I was really curious what this industry was. Like for us, typically projects were like $1 or $2 million in engineering, $10 million in engineering. We couldn't think of such, we couldn't fathom such big numbers. And these people spoke of $100 million deals like they were doing something like these every day. So I was pretty interested. That got me interested. I started reading books without understanding anything. I used to read 300 pages without comprehending any of them. I used to read another book, then comprehend like 50 pages out of those 300 pages again. After I read like 15, 16 books, I had a pretty good grip of what exactly basic finance was. So that's how I got interested into finance.
Okay, so what would you say like about foreign B schools and versus IIMs? What is your point of
Uh,
opinion?
if you want to stay in India, it's better to go through an IIM ABC. Being a LIKS alumni from an IIT, especially, wouldn't be very helpful to your career, mainly because you already are at that pedestal that you don't need these degrees. You would typically gravitate to a foreign MBA. ABC are a class apart because in a B school, what matters the most is the alumni network, and these are relatively young schools. Like IKS are young schools, which is why they don't have alumni in very senior positions. Uh, so it would be difficult for you to make those big career switches which an ABC guy would do. And these guys already have, so all of these colleges have very strong fiefdoms amongst themselves. So it's kind of difficult to break into a company which is already dominated by a particular campus. I can give you examples of private equity firms which would only prefer to recruit from, let's say, an Ahmedabad or a Calcutta, because they like that kind of camaraderie. So if you get into one of those three colleges, it's great. IKS is also pretty nice, but from an IIT, I would recommend you do a job of 2 years, 3 years, and then maybe look for a foreign MBA. The caveat being, if you go from an engineering to a foreign MBA, it's kind of difficult to break into finance. So one of my other decisions of taking a K degree and getting into JP Morgan was I wanted to break into finance early on. It's very difficult to convince recruiters at foreign B schools that you want to do a finance degree, especially an investment banking degree, when you have no experience looking at income statements or financial balance sheets. So that's one of the things that you should keep in mind. So if you want to do a foreign MBA, try to get into roles where you would typically do these kind of things: financial modeling, financial analysis, corporate strategy, and all that. So it's easier to move into post MBA roles like that. I had a pure technical background. I used to work as an electrical engineer in ONGC, which is why I needed to switch. I spoke to a lot of people on GMAT Club. I spoke to a lot of people across the world, randomly messaging them on LinkedIn, and all of them said that if you want to break into finance, then do an MBA from India and try to do a second MBA. But if you try to go to any of the foreign B schools, it would be very difficult to convince your recruiter. So that's one of the other things that you would like to keep in mind.
So how did you decide like you wanted to do investment banking over the other finance careers?
Uh, Very simple. Uh, See, I am a very analytical kind of guy. I like to look at numbers. I like to understand the story behind them. There are a couple of roles that you want to do when you do something like that. One is trading, which is the which is currently being dominated by high frequency trading or quantitative based trading, which is again boiling down to coding. And I wasn't good at coding, so that career was out. Those days of looking at macros and currencies and swaps are typically done by computers these days. So proprietary trading revenues have shrunk across the world, so that career was out for me. You could go into things like wealth management or commercial banking, but the fact that and I watched Suits at one point of time, so again it was kind of a thing that I wanted to do, experience the Wall Street life, if I may say. So that's why investment banking. And one of the other reasons is your peer group in investment banking is very intense, very smart people, extremely brilliant, like hard work. Nobody says they're hardworking in investment banking. That's hygiene. Like you can't tell them that you're very hardworking. They'll just throw you out. Like, they expect you to work hard. You have to impress them with other skills, your clarity of thought, the way you look at a company, because that's what you'll be doing. You'll be looking at company financial statements and deciding what is the best course of action for them. So that's how
So how can
investment banking.
aspirants like who are in undergraduate right now, how can they be sure of like they want to do IB? Because before you do it, you won't really know if you are good for it. And to get in, you have to know a lot of finance. Compared to consulting, it is pretty generalistic to get into consulting. You just have case studies are like pretty general. But for getting into IB, you have to know a lot of finance, right?
Not really. If you look at foreign like investment banks in US as well, they hire a lot of psychology. They hire a lot of BR grads. You should know some basic finance. You should know logic, because investment banks will teach you for a month. Like Goldman Sachs has a 1 month training program in New York where they teach you everything about finance. They expect you to know some basics, but they teach you about everything in those 4 weeks, and it's an amazing program, by the way. So coming back to your question, how do aspirants decide? I'll tell you my personal experience. When we were at JP Morgan, all of the MBA batch was about 44 people. There are 3 people left in investment banking that I know of out of those 44. So a lot of people just go in experience for the fad of it, then they decide it's not for them, and then they move out. Similarly with consulting, so very few people choose to be senior consultants. A lot of people then move out, either start their own firms, take strategy positions, or take larger roles within corporates as well. So very few people actually continue in the circle. So you have to experience it to know it. And the good thing about both these careers, is investment banking as well as consulting, is people know that you're smart, people know that you're hardworking, people know that you can look at things well. So it's kind of a signaling effect that you can do anything else. So a lot of people choose to go into these careers because it kind of signals that you're a good guy. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And so how is the
And that
work?
does not demean anything else. Like
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
no demeaning to corporate strategy or anything. Those roles are equally good.
Just the money is much higher in investment banking.
Not really. Google engineers make more than investment bankers, definitely.
But on a
I
senior
can give it
position,
to you in writing.
like when they go into like much senior positions.
So there your bonuses are dependent upon the businesses that you bring. Typically we call that as carry. So typically partners in the US at large global funds would earn close to $2 to $3 million as base, but their carries would be high. I don't think a Google AI engineer, senior AI engineer would get $1 million.
Not sure. I'm not sure. But because
I
core
know, I
research,
know, I know.
right, right.
Ask your alumni; they are there in Google.
No, you can't directly ask how much you're making, right? So you can just
I know.
Google it. Yeah.
I
So
can tell you there are people who are earning $1 million.
that's
My
nice.
is people who are earning $1 million.
That's nice. So how is the
Yeah,
work in IB? And like, what are the dark
very
sides and
intense.
the bright sides of working in IB?
Uh, I have already told you the bright side. Uh, Basically, as a junior analyst or as an analyst, you are the workhorse of the team, which means you have to do everything, each and everything, which means very long, intense hours. You have to go through 600-page financials to find that one specific number. You have to make sure all your uh, income statements, all your financial statements are in line. To make sure your presentation makes sense, you have to make sure your presentation is neatly formatted. You're consistent. There is good attention to detail, and all that takes time. So work hours are very intense. Because you're the guy who's the most junior in the team, everybody is going to bombard you with work, and they're not going to look at what is your work life balance or no. So once you're in IB, I think your work life balance goes for a toss. And this applies more towards international investment banks, because uh, they expect a lot of more of their candidates. Ambit has a relatively lighter work life balance. uh, so lighter workload, better work life balance, if I have to say. So it's very intense. So this is, I would say, the dark side. it takes a lot of grunt work to get to a good position in investment banking. Typically 6 years you'll have to say goodbye to your social life, uh, because you would be working a lot on weekends. And I'm telling this from the New York perspective. uh, India I haven't I've spoken to people, but I don't think it's as bad. Again, depends on your deal. So India may you do so US may, because the market is so deep and there are a lot of investment banks, you do a lot of pitches. India may, a lot of people are working on execution straight away, which is a client mandate straight away. So again, if you're working on a mandate, there's no end to work. So all I can say is all R's are extreme in both cases.
Right. So you're working in real estate and logistics, right? So what are like the
Hmm.
different types of investment banking, and why did you choose real estate specifically?
Uh, so when we joined JP Morgan, we had an option, right? And because I was not the one who interned with them, you had to pick between what is left after the interns took up the positions. For me, the position was simple. I had to choose between two things. Real estate is something that I already decided, and technology is something which I loved. Uh, Typically, from what I heard, the real estate team was more analytical, and the tech team used to rely more on VC funding and all that, which I couldn't understand personally. So I took something which was more analytical, which was more mathematical, and which I could relate to the real world. So while I was working in Mumbai, and we used to work with a lot of New York REITs and buildings. REITs are basically real estate investment trusts. So I could actually go and see which buildings I was valuing and experience what it felt like to, uh, be close to what you are studying and thinking about. I don't get that feel from technology. Like, I don't think investment bankers could ever visit a factory and fab and see what silicon they're valuing, or experience what Snapchat is. Like, everyone experiences Snapchat, but you don't experience Snapchat's magic straight away. That's something different in real estate. So while we were doing a hotel deal, I couldn't go because I had visa restrictions, but one of my senior VPs actually had a nice stay in the Bahamas, because they went as a side tour to the place, and they could actually live there and experience the place, so that they could understand if there was anything missing. We call that as due diligence. So these guys went for that. So again, pretty experiential thing in real estate.
So once you start working in IB, like are you directly reporting to much higher managers of other clients, or are you working on your own as an analyst, or are you just
So
reporting
as
to
an
your vice president?
Nice. So as an analyst, uh, see, IB the structure, and I'll tell you the way it works in JP Morgan. The MDs and the EDs are responsible for winning the business. That's client interactions, dealing with client expectations, and all that. The VP is the one who would structure the pitch, right? What the pitch would be, and coordinate everything on the deal. And the analyst and the associates are the ones who typically work. The associates basically are the ones who check the analyst's work, but they work in coordination to deliver the pitch. So while you are an associate, you would be asked for your opinion, but you wouldn't be the one that would go and actively engage with clients and give them feedback. That's the MDs and the EDs job. Uh, right. Consider this to consulting, wherein you are directly sitting with clients in their offices. So that's one of the key points of consulting. You have much higher client interactions because you're sitting with them in their offices. Investment banking analysts don't travel as much as consultants do, which for me is okay. I'm fine with it. I don't want to live in hotels. I want my own bed in the night.
Right,
So
right.
that's there. But you do get to talk to clients at times. So one of my VP in New York used to visit this healthcare client regularly, and they would request for him in meetings because they had a camaraderie with him. So it happens. It's not that you don't have, but it's relatively lesser as compared to consulting in a junior position at investment banking.
So how do you survive for long term in investment banking? Or do you, like most people usually switch their roles, but if someone wants to stick into IB to make it to MD or VP at least, how does one survive? Like how does one keep their hobbies intact, or how does one keep their
You
personal
don't.
life intact?
You don't. That's the point. There's a
Right.
trade-off that comes. So a lot of these analyst associates, I would say, one of my associates when I was in NYC said that I hadn't seen my wife for 3 days because both he and me were working till 6:30 in the morning. We would go home, shower, sleep for 1 hour, and report back at 9 o'clock.
So how
And
can
his wife
anyone
used to.
How can anyone sleep
Sorry,
for just 1 hour? Like, that is crazy.
I had done it for 20 days and an average of 3-4 hours of sleep.
Wow,
And
that
I
is
was
too much.
27, 26 when I did this. That is something that came to me from IIT Rope, but I didn't used to sleep for 3 days of minors.
In IT Roper, we might take one all-nighter or two all-nighters at the most, but after that, we're just sleeping for 2 days. We're not going anywhere. So we
That's
have to work
fine.
night.
That's fine. Well, you just get adjusted. And I think I used to have a lot of dark coffee there, a lot. So it just happens. Like people think it's difficult, but it's not. Genuinely speaking, when there's pressure on your head to deliver, especially when I had to prove myself that I could make it to the New York team, you immediately intuitively wake up. Like it's not difficult.
Okay, so what are your future goals like? Would you like to move into private equity or other stuff, or are you like sticking into investment banking?
No, for long term, I'm not a guy who's very hell bent on investment banking. I am a guy who would like to put in their own money somewhere, typically in a private equity setup, and watch that money grow operationally. Right? Uh, I am not a guy who would do deals and just sign off. That is something of a personal mindset. A lot of people just have a better understanding or are more inclined towards completing a deal, getting the payment, and uh, then just letting the deal go there. They don't care about the clients. As in they do, but it's not really their concern anymore once the deal has happened. For me, if I've invested, let's say 7-8 months in a company, I would want to know what that company's future would be. So I would typically gravitate more towards a private equity kind of a position
So
in real estate person.
you're more like Mike Ross rather than Harvey Specter
Yeah.
because he was attached to his clients a lot. Yeah. Okay, so what is one advice you'd like to give to all the younger students and to your younger self also?
Learn coding. Absolutely learn coding. So all the traders at JP Morgan are currently developers. The quant traders are developers. Um, in the future, uh, at least have some bit of Python coding that it's not difficult to do. It's something that I should have done. And I used to, in fact, I used to write codes in embedded C. I used to write codes in C++, but I could never master it, which is why I just left it halfway. One is learn coding. Second is find the right opportunity. So the firm that I was working on used to hire from undergrad as well, and I just took ONGC because anyway it came for placement season, and I just needed a company to get out. Figure your life out well. If you want to really do an MBA, then start on those roles earlier. So if I had, let's say, finance background before, then I wouldn't have to do an IMK MBA and then get into finance. You can short circuit that route straight away. So that's something that I would like to tell myself. And it's fine to not figure out life early. If somebody had told me this, there's a company like this, maybe which recruits engineering undergraduates for finance roles, I would have tried to get into those companies. But I was not aware of these positions at that point of time. So that's you guys have a better advantage of it. You have alumni sitting across firms, across roles, across geographies as well. Um Investment banking, I don't know how many there are. At least my two batches, I don't know. I know there isn't anyone in investment banking or in New York because I tried contacting everyone and nobody was there in New York. The closest we were in Boston was where there was a couple of alumni that I had. Right. There's a guy. In fact, Karthikeya is in CVS at N9 New York. Yeah, but he wasn't there when I was there. So that's one alumni that I know in New York. Uh, but yeah, try to figure out your life early is what I would say. You would short circuit a lot of these unnecessary hassles if you figure out what you want to do early. That's what I would tell my younger self. To other people, uh, the simplest advice I would like to give is make most of those 4 years. And uh, this can involve anything from going to swimming, learning an instrument, probably cutting down on the number of hours AOE would play an AOE or a CS match. And this comes from a guy who's wasted like uncountable weekends on playing AOE. It's something that I could have really done. Like I used to waste a lot of hours playing AOE. So maybe if you could temper that out. I know this sounds like very parental to you, but it's something that I would tell myself that there are better opportunities that are well. Fourth is reach out to people. Like in our times, I don't think we reached out to a lot of people externally. At least I didn't personally, except for the times when I really required help. But reach out to people. People are more than willing to help. Attend the Pan IIT meet if it happens. It's an amazing experience. So in my second year, we were chosen as volunteers, a couple of us, to go to the Pan IIT meet, and that was the best. We didn't have to pay the fee because we were volunteers. So it was an amazing experience. It's a very humbling experience to see the CEO of some company earning probably $1 million, $2 million, waiting cars along with you, because all of us are volunteers in the organizing committee. So I had pretty good connects from that time as well. Yeah. So do that. Like attend a Pan IIT meet, attend an Inter IIT meet. Absolutely do that. I had the privilege of going to two. Absolutely try and get an Inter IIT meet in your CV. It's amazing. It's amazing to see the energy there. You would think IITians are the most sophisticated of people. You should meet, go to an Inter IIT once. You'll see the worst of humanity come out there, and it's actually very fun.
So Inter-IT
So
sports or cult meet?
anything, go to an Inter IIT meet, interact
No,
with other IITians.
which one did you attend? Like I think it was sports because
I went for the aquatics. I
okay,
used to be a
aquatics.
swimmer.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so I
So
think we are done with the interview. Thank you for being such a great alumni, and thank you for
yeah,
being here in general.
yeah, no, not an issue.